Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rosie and I am a research assistant at the University of Cambridge. Back in November, I travelled to Madrid to attend my first ever academic conference in person. Because of funding and COVID, I'd only ever previously attended conferences online and only 3 in total. I presented a poster at this conference, which was incredibly nerve-wracking, but also exciting because I love the research area and I think I got a lot out of the conference in general. So I thought I'd come on here to reflect on my experiences and share a few things I learned for future conferences. Enjoy!
Hello and welcome to my new filming background, which has been in the works for a very long time, and I actually only finally really set it up this morning and have more to add later, so stay tuned. There'll be more added to this.
Take my hand and hold it tight.
So I'm going to start this video with what you can sort of expect at a conference, what the general running is like, the different sessions, breakdown of events, just generally what you might expect to happen. Bearing in mind, this is all based on my experience of one conference and a couple of online conferences. So if you go to a conference and it's completely different, I apologise. But I've gathered from other people that they're all fairly similar in how they're run. The conference I went to was the Society for the Study of Childhood in the Past, and it was hosted just outside Madrid at the University of Alcalá. The conference was in November and we had to submit abstracts for posters and podium presentations by sort of July-August time, and I'd heard back by September. So just bear in mind that if you're wanting to submit a poster or a presentation to a conference, that you're going to want to be leaving a couple of months at least, and the bigger conferences will be more, before the conference to actually submit stuff. So it's worth checking right now if you're thinking about a conference that you want to go to, when it is you have to submit things. Better to be really early than miss the deadline, right? So SSCIP was 3 days long. It ran from Tuesday to Thursday. Tuesday started just after lunch, around 3 p.m, and at 1:30 p.m, I think it was around then, we had a tour of the city. So Alcalá is a university city similar to kind of Oxford, and so it's not very big, but it is beautiful, and they gave us a tour of all the historic buildings and just generally the local area. And whilst this might not be exactly what happens at a conference you go to, it is quite normal to have mini excursions that are optional that you can add on to your conference. The ones at my conference were at no extra charge, but I am honestly not sure about other conferences. I guess it depends what those excursions are. So day 1 lasted from around 1 p.m. to around 7 p.m, but that 7 p.m. session was like an optional mingling and getting to know each other. And day 2 went on from around 8:30 in the morning, where there was coffee and refreshments, all the way until about 7 p.m. There were some breaks during the day, but honestly not that many. It was a very long day, and then it was followed by the conference dinner at 8:30 p.m. that evening. Conference dinners are optional. They are an extra fee in your budget, but if you've got a grant or a bursary covering your conference, then I'd really recommend going, because they're a great place to actually get to know the other people who are at the conference with you outside of a sort of small talking setting. It's a bit more relaxed. You're just enjoying a nice meal and having general conversation, and it was a really good opportunity for networking and generally just making friends. The last day of the conference was another half day. It ran from about 9 until 12 or 1 p.m. This was so that people could then get flights home. But if you weren't leaving around lunchtime, there was an afternoon excursion to a Roman archaeological site. So like I said before, you could expect excursions on any of the days of conferences, but probably most likely on like the last day after things are finished, so no one is stressed or anticipating their talk coming up. And again, if they're free, I'd really recommend going. Great place to unwind, get to know each other, and it's always, usually anyway, depending on your interests, but in something that is related to the conference and therefore something that you're interested in. So you may now be wondering, what exactly is it that you're going to have to do between 9 and 7 maybe p.m. during the day of the conference. Obviously this is going to differ depending on which conference it is you're actually attending and whether you're giving a presentation of any type. So what I've decided to do is just sum up a few of the types of sessions that you might expect at a conference. Most of these happened on the conferences that I've been to, whether they're online or the one that I went to in person. Others are ones that I found when researching more about conferences. Opening and closing sessions. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's the welcomes and the goodbyes at the beginning and the end of the conference, usually given by a set person on the organising committee and the host university or institution that you're visiting. Keynote. Essentially, the keynote presentation is the biggest one of the day or of the whole conference, depending on how they've structured it. This will be some real cutting edge stuff on the general topic, or it could be a presentation that just really drives home the purpose and theme of the conference. A round table. This is where the speakers will answer questions and talk about their research, and for me these followed around 4 or 5 speakers, and then those 4 or 5 speakers will all sit on one long sort of panel and everybody can ask questions together. So people didn't ask questions after every single presentation. We had instead a round table session at the end of each mini themed section. A workshop. This is a session designed to target the improvement of something, whether that's writing, reviewing, referencing. These are interactive sessions led by 1 or maybe 2, maybe more academics or leaders in the field, and generally are attended by PhD students, other students, early career researchers, but anyone. They could equally be a session where there's a scheduled discussion about an ongoing issue or problem within the discipline. So for example, in archaeology and anthropology, this could be ethics. Poster sessions. If you guys are early career researchers or students, poster sessions are probably something you're going to be hearing about all the time. They are a great way to put your little toe in to the research world and the presenting world at conferences without actually having to stand up in front of an entire room and give a full presentation. What the sessions are is essentially an allocated period of time when everybody has time off and they can use that time, or they're expected to use that time, to go up and look at all the posters that will be on display. During this time, if you have a poster, you should be stood next to that poster and ready with a little elevator pitch to give to anyone who's interested and looks at your poster. However, posters are also generally up throughout the entire conference from my experience. Be ready to talk about your work whenever. And finally, a symposium. This is where multiple presenters talk about different aspects of the same topic. Conferences can be pretty expensive, and I myself have been quite shocked when I've looked at how much you're expected to pay for conferences, especially as an early career researcher, because students will generally get a discount, unwaged members will generally get a discount, but I've found that early career researchers, so people who aren't students but are in research and aren't in positions that are either permanent or have, you know, one of the better rates of pay, don't tend to get a discount. So what you want to be looking for, if you can't pay, is any grants, prizes, or pots of money that you can apply for. For example, as this conference was my first conference in person, I received staff development funding. This meant that I really luckily had the whole conference paid for. Otherwise, that would have been a significant amount of my rent money. So some things that I have learned both in staff meetings at Cambridge and at the conference itself was that there are 1, prizes that you can access from the conference itself or from the society running the conference, where you can submit things and essentially win either money or your funding for the next conference. Students can also access volunteer roles at lots of conferences. These could simply be registering people on the morning of the first day. It could be ushering people to different rooms, making sure that everybody knows where they're going. You can answer questions. This is 1, great for networking, 2, great for your CV, and 3, you most likely will have free entry and also potentially a free conference dinner. Also, don't forget to tell your PIs or your supervisors that you want to go to these conferences, pitch your idea, and they might be able to find it in your research grant budget or another research grant budget that they know about if it's related. Equally for anyone at Oxford or Cambridge and potentially other places, I just have obviously no experience of what it's like in terms of for funding, but I know for a fact that Oxford and Cambridge colleges will have things like travel grants and mini research grants that you can have that should be able to cover all, if not half, of small trips away for conferences. Speak up. Take up space. You deserve it. Talk, network, give your email out, get emails off other people, mention your research interests. Even if you're not working on that right now, talk about what you're interested in, because who knows who might be listening to you and who might have a project that they think you're actually perfect for. Mention questions that you've been wanting to know the answers to, that you've been struggling with or caught at a block at on your own research, because other people at this conference might be looking at the same thing or similar things. There's going to be people there who have years and years worth of experience over you. Most of them, if not all of them, will be more than happy to share their research interests with you and for you to do the same with them. Equally, suggest your plans for future research. If you have any ideas bouncing around in your head, pitch them. See if you can fill some holes in your research plan. Now, ways you can do this is 1, by asking questions in roundtable sessions. 2, talk at the conference dinner in a bit of a more informal and less intense setting. 3, at any drinks or refreshment settings, at lunchtime, in coffee breaks, any time where you feel comfortable to ask questions and talk about your work. But please, please just do it. That is the whole point of a conference. Dress code. Yes, you do want to be a little bit smart. You want to wear something that is both comfortable, and I would really like to stress that, because these are long days, sat in probably the same position all day. You want to be comfortable, you don't want to be itching, sweating, having anything that's too tight, but please make sure it's a little bit office-like. So smart casual is what you want to go for. When I say office-like, I mean, for example, anything from a dress to a turtleneck top with a sweater vest over it. It doesn't have to be formal. Last little tip for now is in your break, get up and move. It's really easy because the breaks can be quite short to just sit in your chair and wait for the next session. But I think it is vital to get up, stretch your legs, stretch your neck, stretch your back, stretch your eyes, even if it's walking up and down a corridor, walking to go to the toilet. Just get up and move. It'll be great for your concentration, your motivation in the next session, your general physical well-being. You don't want to be sat aching for the rest of the day. And what's also good on these breaks is to talk to other people. Discuss the sessions that you've just listened to. Ask the speakers if you weren't comfortable enough to do it in a round table or question and answer session. Ask them in the breaks. That is your time. You can do with them what you will, and trust me, people enjoy when you ask them about their research. So don't be afraid to ask about it. Don't think you have a stupid question, because I can guarantee you that that person giving the presentation has probably had that same stupid question in their head at some point, and they'll be able to talk you through it. Use it as a learning experience, use it as a social experience, merge them into one. In sum, it will be intense. Your brain is essentially not going to switch off for the entirety of the conference, whether that's morning, lunchtime, evening, and probably even nighttime. You're gonna struggle to switch off. So it will likely be having to work overtime, that's how it'll feel, even if it also at the same time feels like you've got time off from your usual job. The energy you have to put into networking and socializing is that sort of energy that you don't realize you've expended until you get back to being by yourself. It's so tiring, but it's so rewarding. You will probably come away from this conference with more questions than you went in with. but this is good. Hopefully you'll have had your initial questions answered, and these new questions will be those questions that you use to drive your research even further. Having questions is a good thing. Having questions means that you've actively engaged with what you've been listening to, what you've been watching, what you've heard people say, and your brain is just now questioning new areas for research. Be curious. Make yourself known. Everyone starts somewhere. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other tips, please do let me know in the comments because I need them, and I'm sure many other people watching this video now also need them. I've decided that I'm going to film separately a video on poster presentations because that otherwise would just make this one so long. So stay tuned for that. If you have any other academia or research related video topics that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments, DM me on Instagram, comment on all my pictures. Whatever you want to do it, and I will get stuck in. Have a good day everyone, and good luck if you're going to a conference soon in the future, if you're applying, if you're submitting your presentation. Good luck, you've got this. Bye guys.